Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Metal Freedom. I'm your host, Jay Hill. We have a returning guest, friend of mine, good friend of mine, um, Jason Mooney from Skin Harvest, drummer extraordinaire. And I've had him on a couple times, and we've always had good conversations. Had a little bit of a problem with some connections here and there, but I think that it's all worked out now. So without further ado, let's get him on here and start chatting. What's up, brother?
Good afternoon, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Um, so it's probably been about a couple months since I talked to you on here, but I talk to you kind of regularly, um, in text and whatnot. But sounds like Skin Harvest is doing pretty good.
Doing really well. It kind of fluctuates on the top 10 in between number one and number two. And we always kind of go head to head with this band called Blood of Angels. And
Hmm.
it's kind of funny because they take the one rank and we take two. And then
Right.
we go to one and then they go to two. So we got a call from them and they're doing a tour for the United States. And they said, "Do you want to be involved in it?" And I said, "When does it start?" And blah blah blah. And they said it starts August 13th of this year. Starts in the outskirts of Detroit, and I think goes over to Grand Rapids, and then round and round we go. And St. Louis, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Kentucky. Um, you know the deal.
Yeah.
Everything, and then we wind up doing the last show uh, in Nashville at the Cobra, a really
Nice.
cool place. Yeah, so we signed on for that, and in the meantime, I've been rehearsing, writing new songs. Um, what else? A couple local warm-up shows coming. We got what is it, May 9th at the Brass Mug in Tampa. That's our friends in Velvet Sky called us, and they got two other bands on the bill. I know one of them's Hate Tank, which is one of my favorite bands out of the area besides Psycho Tribe.
Hmm.
And then July 18th, there's a big Tampa Bay Boom Fest, which is like the best of the best on the venue. It's like an all day thing, starts at noon and goes to the wee hours. So we've been busy doing that and keeping our equipment up and trying to keep the bus running, which is having some complications right now as it does happen, you know.
How old is your bus?
It's not that old, and it's used. It hasn't been used that much. There's not that many miles on it, but stuff can go wrong. Whether it's
Hmm.
air, AC, which you want to have, heat, that's all fine. But I know it needs a water pump right now, so it's up in storage, outdoor storage, and that's got to be fixed before we hit the road.
Hmm.
And just like any business, you got to take things into consideration with travel time and travel expense and the way gas prices and diesel are going right now, whew,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
but it's still better than leasing a bus for 9 to 11 grand a week, which is what they go for, you
Right.
know.
Right. Right. So I'm sure that with your experience of being with different bands and whatnot, you've probably have rode your fair share of buses.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What's kind of cool in Europe, the last time I was in Europe, they give you a double decker bus.
Oh, nice.
So the driver's underneath downstairs in the front, and then upstairs, like three of you, four of you can sit above him, and you got this big glass window. And as you're going down the road after the show to the next country or whatever, the last time I remember we were going through London, and it was winding through like these spooky trees and fog, and it
Mm-hmm.
looked like the American and Werewolf in London movie. It's
I can
pretty
only
cool,
I can only
you know.
picture that. Yeah, that's
And that
crazy.
that's the end of the night for travel time, and then you've got your bunks and then a room in the back, and then the very back of the bus you go downstairs and there's like a living room down there with a TV, and you got Xbox and PlayStation and whatever. I
Right.
think they
Right.
still have DVD players. I don't even know. but it was just a better bet for us to get our own and cancel out leasing, you know. Just like the album, like my singer, like I said, graduated with, you know, engineering and producing and has a master's in it. So the studio's in his house and he does the producing, and that cuts out the studio and the producer. So we got that cut out, and then we cut out the tour bus stuff, you know, as far as leasing. And then as far as bringing people with you, you know, you have merch people and techs and roadies, and I got a good friend of mine that's going to be doing like kind of like security. What do you want to call it? Like a road manager type thing.
Right, right.
I call him the bulldozer,
Mm-hmm.
but his name is we'll say his name is Mr. Jerry. How about that?
Okay. Right. So it sounds like you've got, some good stuff coming your way. Do you have I posted that picture of that event that you got at the brass
The brass mug. The
yeah, the
reason
brass
that
mug.
the reason we infiltrate that place a lot, I don't know if I mentioned this before in previous interviews, we're in some really different times right now. And you
Mm-hmm.
look for venues, whether they hold 100, 500, 1,000. I mean, there's all different types of seaters. You got bars, clubs, theaters, amphitheaters, you name it. And now what it's coming down to is the mid-sized venues and smaller venues, they only want cover or tribute bands or karaoke.
Really?
So you have to it's getting slim. And now I had just heard about a week ago where we are, a lot of the venues are only going to have that. There's not an option to bring your album in your merch and all original stuff, which of course, as you know, pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
And I still stick by my same guidelines of saying, you know, if you did this stuff in the early 70s or 60s and you told Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Van Halen, Black Sabbath, The Who,
Mm-hmm.
hey, listen, guys, the Beatles are what the big thing is right now. So you guys have to all do Beatles songs and dress like them and do a tribute band. Well, if you did that, there'd be no John Bonham, there'd be no Eddie or Alex Van Halen, there'd be
Right.
no Ozzy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hell,
Yeah.
there'd be no Metallica. I mean, if it was later on, so it's like
Yeah.
it's killing it, is what it's doing. You know, I don't see the sense in that. You know, so we try to jump on fests and do venues with other bands that are all original, signed or not, but they do their own material.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's got to get out there one way or another, and if you don't do it by, you know, by word of mouth or by internet, you got to play live because everything's based on live and uh, ticket sales and whatnot. You know,
Right. Right.
and merch,
Yeah.
and that's just where you're at. You know.
Right. With the merchandise and with the lineup of shows and whatnot, and just getting your music out there, the game has changed, and I think that it's kind of gone a little bit in different directions. And there's options for some people like younger bands to kind of go for that. You know what I mean? And to kind of like produce their own stuff, just like you're doing now. You cut out the middleman, basically.
That's true.
You know.
I got a buddy pulling his boat and his pickup truck in. I don't mean to sound unprofessional, but I'm going to move out of the way here for a second, okay? All
No, that's cool.
right, hang on. Let me move up here. Howdy. Beautiful out, huh? Yeah, as long as the rain stays away. All right, let's go over here, shall we? Are you still with me, sir?
I am.
Well,
I
you know what
am.
they
I
say.
am.
Different ends of the lake, you ain't going to stop people from fishing ever, especially where I am. Fishing
Right.
and hunting's like a religion here, you know?
Right.
See if we can do this. Okay. Let's bring this down. How's that? Any better?
That's cool. That works.
Okay, as long
I
as
got
you
you.
you can see me and I can see you.
Yep, I got you. I got you.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So, anyways, so that's the status of the band, and you go through these things where you weigh out. I mean, and I think I've said this before too, with money and things like that. We did Ocala, another one of my favorite places, Ocala National Forest.
Mm-hmm.
We did like the northern part of it. We did like a mini tour with these other killer bands. They were punk and hardcore,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes to the end of the night, and you never know what you're going to walk into for a venue, you know?
Right.
And we walk into this venue. It's nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking smack, right?
Right.
And the whole stage only fit my drum set.
Oh no.
So I'm like, what are we going to do? Put the band in the audience, so Donnie, my singer, can smack people around or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
So we made it work and had a great time. And it reminded me of like high school with like the old punk hardcore theme
Yeah.
where everyone's just right here,
Right.
you know, and you're sweating to death and crammed on room and whatever, but it was really cool, and you wait till the end of the night and out comes the envelope and you get paid and whatnot. That's how it works. I usually handle the money because the road manager is not there yet because this was more of a local mini tour.
Right.
And then I'm honest engine. I'm like I'll go up to the guys and I'll go, what do you want to do and how do you want to divide this? And it usually goes towards expenses, towards cost.
Mm-hmm.
Towards well, I guess what I'm saying is it gets put back into the band, you know,
Right.
before anything, and then you do whatever you want to do with whatever change you got left or whatever, and for your household and whatever. That's just how all bands do it.
Right.
One tour I was on in Europe, the road manager would come at the end of every week on Friday, and he would go to the front of the bus and he'd have envelopes of pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there were these techs and roadies, and I'm not going to say any names,
Hmm.
but they'd wind up with nothing every week, and I'd be like, "Well, you guys get paid, right?" I'm like, you guys never have any money, but I see you with beer and food and whatever, because they want to remain in the lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm not trying to get personal, but where does that money go? And they're like, oh, dude, we got child support, we got alimony, foreclosures, bank owned stuff, lawyers, this and that. So like the whole check goes away.
Wow.
But you're taken care of on the road, trust me.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time I was over there, I didn't have a bill or a worry in the world, so I could take my money and do whatever I wanted to do with it.
Right.
So I'd like go out like shopping on Carnaby Street in London, stuff like that.
Right.
Um, one tour over there, it was my birthday, and all the guys wanted to take me out, and they wanted to take me to something called the Red Light District. And I'm not into that stuff, okay?
Right. Right.
But I think this was, I want to say it was in Amsterdam, and you walk down these alleys, right? And these
Mm-hmm.
windows come up, like electronic windows,
Mm-hmm.
and there's women in there, you know,
Yeah.
and they're from Sweden, France, Japan, wherever,
Mm-hmm.
and you just pick which one inside you go. And
Right.
I was doing it kind of like how you look at like, I mean, that stuff doesn't do anything for me, but I look at it like
Right.
you're looking at a car accident, like you don't
Right.
want to look, but you can't turn away.
Right. 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 Right.
It's just a trip. And then a lot of the guys would go into like these restaurants slash bars where they got a big chalkboard and you can buy hash and pot and opium
Right. Right.
and whatever. I mean, because a
So,
lot
do
of
you
the
have
guys
any plans to tour over with Skin Harvest over across the pond?
already been mentioned,
Okay.
and kind of, let's just say in the forecast, but we didn't agree to anything because a lot's got to be figured out for Europe. It
Mm-hmm.
does. And I was just bringing this up the other day with all the equipment that we have. it's not cheap to take it all over there. And in a lot of cases, you'll have stuff supplied for you, like
Hmm.
you'll have like in my case, you'd have a drum set supplied over there, a
Right.
drum riser, monitors, whatever. And you bring your cymbals or your kick drum pedals or in your sticks, you know.
Right.
Um, Last time I did Mexico, I did a double headliner at this arena in Mexico City, and they gave me this drum set and cymbals and hardware and pedals, and I can't believe I made the thing work. And it did the drums. I mean, I had to really work my magic on it. I'm like tuning the skins that were like 20 years old,
Yeah.
and this sound guy got them to sound like cannons and really good. I just put some love into it, for sound
Right.
check.
Right. Hmm.
But that stuff doesn't matter when the crowd overtakes, and you see them just jumping and moving, I mean, this arena had like these, what do you want to call them? Like bleachers,
Hmm.
like at a baseball game
Right.
or like in a gymnasium in the far back.
Hmm.
And everybody was, do they still call it pogoing up and down?
Hmm.
I could feel the shake on the stage underneath the riser from it going.
Wow.
I
Holy
mean,
cow.
Mexico and South America for metal and rock. I mean, look out, man. I
Yeah.
mean, they live and breathe it, which is that's in the forecast too, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm. Um, I wanted to mention too that I've noticed, and I've actually interviewed some cool kids that were really starting to up and come on their own with some of their music, and we talked about how you guys are recording and doing your own stuff and producing it and this and that, and like kind of wanted to retouch that.
Sure.
Some of these kids, the way they're doing it, the way they're doing it or building a small studio in their basement or wherever, um, what kind of battles do you think that those kids are going to I guess
Well,
experience?
here's a venture that I came into now that I never did before. The drums got programmed and put on there. I mean, I write them and I
Right.
collaborate with my singer and like,
Right.
what do you want to do with this part and splashes? You want to do half time, double time, 16s on the hats, uh, straight beat, whatever,
Hmm.
So sometimes you'll write it on that, then you'll record it on that, and then we'll also do a live drum recording, you know? So you're taking a machine and a computer and writing your drums on it basically, and then you have to do what you wrote on there live
Oh
on your
man,
drums.
is
But
that
the
hard for
problem,
you to
the,
do,
the, the
or?
problem, the problem that I foresee is, I mean, this is just me. Um, Things like that and AI and things like that, it becomes so computerized and so much technology, and you're talking to a drummer that's very, very primal and
Hmm.
tribal,
Hmm.
where I believe drums are meant to resonate. I believe in birch, hickory,
Hmm.
maple, things like that. And then what comes into play with that is what kind of mics you're going to use, like Art from Lamb of God and Tardy from Obituary and whatever. Obviously, they bring their own mics with them to the venue. They don't bring their own sound system, but they bring their own mics. Hi, pup. Um, they bring their own mics, so it's already set how it was in the rehearsal room or from the last gig,
Hmm.
which I haven't gotten on yet. So I trust the venues on supplying that. There was one venue we did, correct me if I'm wrong. Um, we got there and the sound guy goes to me, I think this was St. Petersburg. He goes, "We can only mic one of the kick drums." And I said, "Okay, I get it." But I go, 75% of our songs are double bass.
Hmm.
What do you want me to do? You know,
Right.
do you want me to, I guess if the words compensate, I used to do that in high school. I'd use a floor tom, but this is
Right.
when I wasn't good at double kick.
Right.
And I'd make the tom slap like a kick drum with the other
Right.
foot
Right.
coming down, and I'm
Right.
like, oh my God, I don't want to go back to that. But anyways, it all wound up turning all good, you
Right.
know.
Right.
But usually by rule of thumb for drums, I can't speak for the guitar players or the bass players or the vocalists, but for drums, you want a mic on every single drum, and you want your overheads for the cymbals.
Right.
You know, so I mean, for someone like me, I don't have a spaceship, but I've got a seven-piece kit. But I've got right now, since the new ones came in, another set of new ones came in. I've got 14 cymbals and 2 hi-hats on both sides. So one of the shows, one of the techs was bringing in like the stands and the cymbals, and I go, just leave like 35% of them in the truck. There was no room to fit it.
Right.
See, like in Europe and like on the bigger tours, you'll get a riser that's 10 feet by 10 feet, 3 foot to 6 foot tall. But some of the other venues are based for a drummer that, let's say, had the same kit that Dave Grohl had in Nirvana, which basically gives you about 4 feet by 5 feet. And I don't like to downsize. I hate it because I've already got my style dialed in.
Right.
So I don't even like using a double pedal on one kick drum because the response and the attack is different. You know, that's just me. I'm just speaking for me. You know,
right. And some of those bigger venues and some of those risers, there are different sizes for different. You know what I mean? So how often do you run into that where you say, yeah, this riser doesn't work for me because my set is not going to fit?
Well, there was one venue. I want to say this was, I think it was Lauderdale. I forgot if it was the Culture Room or the Factory. This was years ago. And I always remember this because I had a gong, which I do now. Well, that's a lot of space behind you. And not just because it's so big, but if you want to stand up and whack it, and I don't mean to sound poserish because you probably use the thing 1 or 2 or 3 times.
Right.
But there's got to be space behind there for you to get up and spin around on the stool. So this one venue in Lauderdale, there was no room. I had the whole drum riser filled up, but there was space behind the drum riser, behind where the curtains and the backdrop goes with the lighting.
Right.
And I'm like, what can we put back here to put this big gong with this stand on it? So the owner, there was a kitchen in one part of the building. He brought out these 2 giant freezers, like you store deer meat in for hunting season, right? And he draped them with this black curtain, and we put the gong up on the freezers.
Nice.
You know, and everyone was saying to me, "Where'd you get that massive gong drum riser?" And I'm like,
"Oh, if you only knew."
It's freezers, buddy, freezers.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about some of your other members. You know, kind of we talked about some of the stuff that you've been through, and you talked a little bit about your singer, but where'd your guitar player come from? I don't think I ever asked.
My guitar player I've known for a gazillion years, and we met in South Florida years ago. And without getting too personal into the stuff, there were 2 gals that were best friends. Okay. We met them, and we both had sons from those girls.
Oh.
So we were connected that early on a friendship level. And in South Florida at the time, he couldn't meet anybody that was cool or he could get along with. And they go, listen, we're bringing this guy, Jason. He's a drummer. He's like a metal rock drummer, and he does some country and whatever. And he goes, finally, someone cool. So I meet him. I come to his house, and in the back room, he lived on a golf course. There was like this sunroom, and he had like a little kid's kit from like Walmart, that little miniature one. And we went back in there, and here he's got his guitar and his amp and whatever, and we started playing on that together. And like, it was like sounding good, you know? And at this time frame, as we moved on and got more connected playing together, we wound up forming a band called Tower of Dementia, but it sounded more death metal than anything without the blast beats. And we carried that on, and then we went into different directions at some point, and I'm a state hopper and a band hopper, depending on how long the band keeps it together. You know, I
Right.
usually give it a year or two, and
Uh-huh.
then unfortunately somebody will OD, and that's no
Right.
bullshit,
Right.
or they'll run off and start a family or have kids,
Yeah.
or they'll pick a different style of music, and that's just life. I used to get angry about it, but that's just the way it is.
Right.
So throughout that, we've always kept in touch and played together here and there. And what had happened with the guitar player, my best friend, um, he was writing, and he called me when I was living in New York, and he goes, "I want to put the band back together, and I want to get members and really throw it up the flagpole and see who salutes it, you know."
Mm-hmm.
And I already had done what I had done in New York, and my health wasn't good. I was in the hospital a lot having surgery. So I had to look at New York, and I love it, and I've got good friends there, and there's part of me that misses it,
Mm-hmm.
but it was the most expensive place I ever lived.
Oh, I bet.
And I thought to myself, if it's just, nickel and diming me, it's not worth me being here anymore. And I obviously wanted to come back to warmer weather and start the band up again because I already knew what he was going to write, and he
Mm-hmm.
knew what I was going to come up with on the drums. That's the easy part. So what you have is kind of like a Alex and Eddie team, or like a Vince and Dimebag team.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually drums and bass is the rhythm section, but it was drums and guitar. So I jumped out of there, out of New York, and headed through the Jersey Turnpike, made it to North Carolina that night, and then beeline for South Georgia, and then back into Tampa. And that was about, oh, give or take, I want to say 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, we've auditioned and went through 33 members.
Really?
That's not just bass players or vocalists or another guitar player or a keyboard player or whatever, all of them. And
Really?
I said, wow, if things changed here, for talent, for image, for styles of music.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people nowadays, like Paulo from Trivium was telling me, you're really lucky if you can keep your band together nowadays because of opinions. Everybody wants it their way or the highway. As
Mm-hmm.
in where I've always been the person, especially with drums, and I'm like, do you like this? Should I change something? I don't get offended if you tell me to do something different, whatever acclimates the part. But I've seen people get into scream matches, fights in the studio, physical ones, like brutal,
Right.
where that relationship's going to end right there. But to take it to that level, and I've seen it right in the studio, and I'm like, wow. So, yeah, what made me feel a little bit better is Ricky from Poison, the drummer.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting at his house years ago, and we were having a cup of coffee at his table, and we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about everything under the sun. And he told me, let's just see if I can even remember this correctly. I want to say Bruce CC DeVille,
Mm-hmm.
because before we got him, 52 guitar players.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So I don't feel so bad now because
Right,
listen,
right. Now it's not so bad in your
I'm
area. Yeah,
I'm
right.
always the one that goes, "Woe is me," you poor guy, and I'm like, there's other people that go through it,
Yeah,
you know.
that's crazy. I mean, and look, I mean, they got CC DeVille, but then kind of look what happened years
And
later.
then the other thing is when you're replacing someone when you're already established and you got big shoes to fill,
Mm-hmm.
that is even more difficult than just playing and joining the band and getting along. Like I was supposed to go in and fill Lombardo's shoes, and at one
Right.
time Bo Staff's, and those are
Uh-huh.
big shoes to fill. You
Right.
know, um, imagine having to well take whatever. I mean, if you had to go in and do a bass or a guitar part or a vocal part. I mean, like I was just with Todd the other night from Queensryche.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. Not just making sure your vocals are top notch and you got your shit down, But you're going in to replace Jeff Tate, and he did it 24 years ago.
Right, right,
You know, filling
right.
big shoes. You know,
I just saw that picture too on Facebook.
yeah, great guy,
Yeah.
great guy.
Now, was that the original bass player for Queensryche?
Who's that?
The for bass player for Queensryche, was he Todd, the guy
No,
that you
no,
took the picture
I'm
with?
talking about the singer Todd Latore.
Oh, Todd Latore. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, he replaced Jeff like 24 years ago. I think besides him, I think, don't quote me on this, I think there's only two original members left of Queensryche, I think. And I grew up on them too, like a lot of people did.
Right.
And besides Scott Rockenfield being an awesome drummer, you know,
Hmm.
I was always a fan of Jeff Tate, and I don't have a problem with clean or high vocals.
Right.
And you know, to be able to have to sing that way and take care of your voice, whether it's Tate, Perry, Halford, James from Dream
Hmm.
Theater.
Yeah.
Wow,
Oh,
man,
yeah. James
you gotta
LeBrie.
stay
Yeah.
in you gotta stay in condition, man. You know,
Yeah. I saw them in
that's
concert in '92 when Images and Words came out, and it was at a
phenomenal
bar,
album.
and that was a phenomenal album. So even talking about Queensryche, Empire was one of is still one of my favorite albums. You
They got
know.
so many good ones, you know. I mean, they got great ones. A friend of mine from years ago when I lived in South Florida, his name's Derek Roddy. He played for the band Nile, played for a ton of bands, phenomenal death metal drummer. I went and jammed with him in his room down in South Florida, and we were like taking turns on the kit and whatnot.
Hmm.
He went out for Dream Theater to replace Portnoy,
Right.
and I forgot what other drummers did. This is before Mangini got it,
Right.
but I thought Derek Roddy was the best one out of
Really.
all of them. Yeah, I really did.
Isn't
You know,
Portnoy back with Dream Theater?
I'm sorry.
Isn't Portnoy back with Dream Theater?
I believe so. I
Yeah.
believe so.
I love him as a drummer. He was phenomenal then.
Oh, he's like a mathematician.
Yeah. Just
You
crazy.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy can count like you never seen, you know. He can fit stuff in where you're not supposed to fit stuff in,
Right. Right. Yep.
you know.
I agree. I agree. So what about your bass player?
What happened was the last bass player we had before Current wound up becoming a father, and you know, he's got to do what he's got to do for that, you know,
Right.
and pursued to do that, which is fine, you know. And then I was kind of, you know, getting discouraged a bit because I think a bass player is one of the hardest things to find in the band. And the thing with bass playing in our band in Skin Harvest is you have to be able to double and triple pick. I don't care if you use your fingers or a pick, and
Hmm.
it's very physically demanding music. And a lot of these bands, you know, tribute and cover bands, if you want to steal somebody and bring them in to do our album, um, you can't play in an AC/DC tribute band or a Fleetwood Mac tribute band and come in and do our stuff. You can't.
Right.
It's something you're going to have to learn from 10 years ago or started doing in high school. And I wanted someone that was like Rex from Pantera, Alex from Cannibal Corpse, Steve Harris from Maiden,
Hmm.
um, you know, that type of gear.
Hmm.
Cliff Burton, hell, even Geezer Butler, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just it's difficult, you know. And I
Hmm.
found out that you know, um, everybody's supposed to be with someone and fit in some kind of mold in the band that they do.
Hmm.
Okay. And you got to compliment that part. Like, I'm not going to go join Jason Aldean or Tim McGraw and
Right.
start throwing down double kick where it's unnecessary.
Right. Right.
But if, you know, with country music, and I've done a few country albums, if you can't do ghost notes on the snare, you're kind of in a bit of trouble. Because I could show you
Hmm.
videos of drummers that played for Mary Chapin Carpenter, Rascal Flatts. The list goes on. And if you would just see what they're doing on the drums, the average person thinks they're just going ba, da, 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 like a horse trot.
Right.
And believe me, they're not. They're doing beats like uh, Jeff from Toto in like the song
Yeah.
Rosanna.
Mm-hmm.
That is not an easy drum beat if you just
Right.
hear the drum beat and you think it's
Right.
just going and it's
Right.
not doing that, you know.
Right. Right. Right.
Same thing with T-Bone with Tommy Lee. Like if you ever watched the drums, I opened up for him in when he was in Methods of Mayhem
Yeah.
doing his kind of rap thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch him from an aerial or side view on the stage doing Dr. Feelgood, it is not a straight beat. I mean, he's
Right.
bells and open and closed hi-hat and catches and whatever. I mean, he's a busy boy,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Right.
I
Did
mean,
you?
I guess maybe unless you're a drummer, you don't know that because here's the thing with guitars and bass player parts, I have to ask them, I'm like, what is that? Like an arpeggio or what are you
Yeah.
doing there? What's that
Right.
squeak and that squawk, you know?
Right.
And then
Right.
they tell me and I forget what it is and I go, well, just do that thing.
Right.
I don't know what you call it, you know?
Yeah. Well, whatever works,
Yeah, exactly.
So talk about your singer.
Um, Donnie's a unique character. Um, I always say he's like the from the land of misfit toys, you
Okay.
know? He's very young and he's very into, let's see, I don't want to misquote him. He's very into the Beatles, the Doors, CCR. I mean, he's got a catalog like this where, when he just plays his guitar or sings something,
Mhm.
it could be the Who. And when he was like, I want to say like 27, I seen him and he kind of looked like a metal rock guy to me.
Mhm.
And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get him in this thing and get him to try to do this stuff. Because the
Mhm.
guy can hit parts like Randy from Lamb of God,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Right. Right. Right.
He can sing in a lot of different ways, but he does sing very clean. And sometimes it sounds very Euro, I'll call it,
Mhm.
you know? Anyways, I didn't know the guy wound up living like a mile from the rehearsal room.
Wow.
So I go, why don't you stop down? And that was 2.5 years ago. And we just kept writing and writing and playing. And I don't mean to do a slam on Marshall Mathers, but I told Donnie when I met him, I go, at your age, shouldn't you be like into Eminem?
Mhm.
And you're into CCR and Robert Plant and
Yeah.
Jim Morrison. And he's a phenomenal writer. I mean, every time he puts down pages of lyrics for a new song. Like we got two new ones right now that are great. I'll look at the first line before I read the pre-chorus, the chorus, the other verses, and whatever, and I'm done. I don't have to read the rest of it. They're always, always phenomenal every time,
Wow. So
which
you
is
guys.
nice. You don't have to like oversee anything and go, "What the hell did you write here? What are you talking about? What were you
Right.
on?" It's
So do
always
you have
great.
that album done then? Are your first album? Is it done?
Yeah, it's done. But what we did was we wanted to remix and remaster to kind of beef it up a bit.
Okay.
We didn't change what we were doing, but we wanted for remixing and mastering, just to give it some more. I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe maybe oomph. You
Maybe
know?
just polish it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. You know. What do you call? How do I put this? When I listen back to my drums, for instance,
Mhm.
I can immediately go like the hi hat should have been tight there instead of open.
Right.
Where it's a little more. I call it washy when the hi
Mhm.
hat's kind of half open. And what I try to do is when the vocals are going, so you can understand his lyrics and what he's saying,
Mhm.
that's when I tighten up on the hi hat. So I
Right.
let the vocalist shine and his vocals shine. You know.
So you being a drummer as good as you are and as experienced as you are,
Well, I
have you
appreciate that, but there's a
well
lot of guys that can whoop my ass.
well yeah, but from what I understand your history and heard you play certain songs like I had listened to some of it from your album. do you find yourself now after all these years kind of like a perfectionist, or do you just kind of just take it
No,
willing
you're
that
always still learning, and there's always something
right,
coming up. I could be at a gig watching a different band, and the cool thing about drummers is it's like a brotherhood. There's not like that competition thing. At least I don't think so. And I'll ask drummers, I'll go, how you doing that? What are you doing in that part there? Like there was a part in a Hell Yeah song that Vinny used to do.
hmm
What was it called? I don't know if it was called Goddamn or Hell Yeah or something. There's like this quadruplet that starts,
hmm
but it starts with the snare, and then sometimes you got to figure out, does it start with the left hand or the right hand first? Stuff like that. And
hmm
it's not that difficult, but you ask, what was going on there? How'd you do that? So you're always learning something. Something's coming
right,
up,
right.
you know?
And from what I've gathered too is I've known a few drummers in my growing up. It's more or less um, they'll be more than happy to tell you how they do it, because if they ask you or you're asking them how'd you do that, then they're going to say, hey, maybe this person hasn't heard this, and I'll be more than happy to show you. So that's what you're kind of saying with that whole closeness of that. There's no competition. It's more like we'll be here to help, and tell you how to do it. It's our pleasure.
Yeah.
Same with like guitar players too. I mean, I don't know.
You learn on what sounds they're hitting too. Like I could tell you, I mean, this is kind of a no-brainer. When you listen to Korn, like Silveria
Oh yeah,
in the beginning years, I instantly knew that snare was a piccolo. I knew it wasn't a deep one like my Alex Van Halen snare,
mhm,
which kind of sounds like Pyromania. It's bigger
right,
and brighter. I knew he had a piccolo. Um, Lombardo, like on Raining Blood,
yeah,
when you hear the Peisty Rudes, I can tell what's a 16, a 18, a 20, a China. Um, like the first hit in Angel of Death is a 16-inch Rude. And I
hmm
knew that without seeing them do it.
right,
You
right,
just get so in tune with it.
right. You
Um,
you remember Chuck Schuldiner from Death?
yeah.
Okay, and their drumming style was kind of unique too. I mean, they
Well,
were
the
they
thing was I got blessed with the European tour and American tour to tech for Sean Reinhardt for the Human tour.
oh really
So I didn't just set up his drums and sound check them, but I got to learn from him. And he
nice,
was what I describe as the best jazz slash death metal drummer I've ever seen. And he
really,
wasn't doing blast beats, but I mean, when his kit would be set up and everything was good and I'd sound check it and whatever, when he'd play, I was right below the riser and I would watch his hands and,
uh-huh.
doing rolls on splash cymbals that were this big with his
Right,
hands and his feet and 8-inch mini hi-hats and stuff, and how he angled his cymbals. He angled his cymbals on an angle where like you see on talk shows like Jimmy Kimmel and Conan O'Brien used to have.
yeah, yeah,
And then you look back and you transform it in your brain, you're like, he's got a jazz setup. They didn't look like flat cymbals like the rock drummers used, like Tommy
yeah. I
comes
always
down.
wondered about that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
always
Tommy, like Tommy from Crew, he comes down on his cymbals, and he's so damn tall, which
right,
is one thing, but he comes down on them. Um, Jazz drummers have everything angled, so it's very convenient, you
yeah.
know,
Hmm.
which is actually a smart thing to do if you're playing really fast music because you want your cymbals and toms to have such easy access because you don't have any time to
Right.
reach for stuff.
So
Because I really honestly didn't come from the world of stick tricks and you know, this stuff and
right, right.
whatever. I always had gloves on and trying not to get blisters and
hmm
drop my sticks as you're just cranking so fast. And if your tech doesn't have the kit set up correctly or has a cymbal an inch or two far over, when you're coming around the mountain, as I call it, you
hmm
will get that stick caught like in between your ride cymbal
hmm
and your floor tom. And then that stick will go flying, and then you got to start reaching
Yep.
for sticks. So,
Right.
like
So
my
where
kit, like I'm sorry.
Where's that drummer now from death?
He unfortunately passed away about, I want to say 3 years ago.
Did he really? Oh my gosh, I
Yeah,
never
you know
even
what?
knew
I've
that.
lost more friends and family in the last 5 years than I've ever lost in my life, almost to the point where, I mean, I'm taking care of myself and I have a diet that's like the best diet you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I mountain bike, I jog with like 10-pound leg weights on. I drink as much water as possible. I take turmeric root, ginger root. It's all about cardio for me and, of course, strength. But
Right,
I still, when I wake up, and I don't mean to sound like a cornball, okay?
right, right.
I literally go, I'm still here. And you're talking to a guy that in the last 5 years, without exaggeration, I've had 10 to 12 surgeries internally.
Oh wow.
And of course, like the paranoid neurotic I am, I have to go on Google and
Mm-hmm.
read about it. And it tells the worst case scenario.
It does.
And
It
it says
does.
every time you had those surgeries done, there's a 50-50 chance of living or dying
Right, right.
because it's
Yeah,
veins, it's internal. And when you
yeah.
have internal bleeding, they got to tape you back together and you got to
Right.
stay on it. And then once you stay on it and you start healing, you got to manage it through diet and all this stuff. I mean, when I first started going through it, I couldn't lift over 10 to 20 pounds. They didn't want me doing that. They didn't want
Mm.
me jogging. And they told me it was okay to play drums, believe it or not. But let me tell you something right now, and I'm not trying to freak people out and gross them out. Try playing on the drums, sitting on your stool, full of sweat, sore, sick, bad sleeping and pain, with a giant catheter in you,
Oh
coming
wow.
down your coming down your Adidas tracksuit, okay?
Yeah.
And the catheter is just filling with blood while you play.
Oh wow.
Again, I don't mean to offend anybody, but there's people that have worse problems than I do or
Oh yeah.
did,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. I'm
Yeah.
not out of the woods yet, but I almost am, you know.
Right.
And people don't understand in the musician lifestyle. One of my old managers, another one that passed away, he had a, I'm not going to say any names out of respect for his family, but he had kidney failure and diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't drink or do drugs or anything like that. And something came hunting for him. And then they start removing toes and things like that. And he would call me in New York and I'd be like, what are you doing? And he'd tell me, just surviving, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him saying the last time I talked to him before he passed, he goes, "Do you know what I think did this to me with the diabetes and the kidneys?" He goes, "It was the music industry. All the stress, all the lawyers, all the courts, all the bad sleep, the improper diet, all that stuff. So it becomes about maintenance, but something can still come for you. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care what someone does with their life, whether they drink or do drugs or whatever. That's your prerogative, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
if you can make it through that and be okay, fine. But at some point or another, you got to sit there and look at your body and go, how do I feel today? You know? And for a while now, I mean, a while, I haven't felt like this since like high school.
Well, that's
Like
cool.
I'm like right out of bed, no matter what time it is, and just an energy bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
you can tell. I mean, I'm not like, hey, dude, you know.
No, 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 no. I've never thought of that you've ever been like that. You basically kind of like have more energy than I could ever dream of having. And, we're close in age, but I mean, it's like, yeah, I can experience that whole, the things and surgeries I've had and the things that I've had, I should have been dead and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But I don't know. I ground myself a lot. You know what I mean? I don't know if you
You
ground
can't you
yourself.
can't take life for granted because if I told you how many guys, like my doctor, great doctor in New York, Italian doctor, he swore all the time. And I
Yeah.
love that. And it's not the most professional thing to do. And he'd swear at me. And
Right.
I go, I love it when you say fuck. And he goes, why? And I go, because it means you're telling me the truth.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
do I have this? Do I have that? What if this happens and whatever? And he goes, if you have this, you're fucked.
Right. Right.
He's just being honest, you know? So I'm like, hey, look at my eyes, look here, look inside, look whatever,
Yeah.
you know, all this stuff, you know? And he'd be like, you're fine, you're fine. And then I'd kind of half jokingly go on, do you think we can get like 20, 24, 30 years out of this engine, you know? And he
Yeah.
goes, yeah, if you do what I tell you to do, Jason, and stop being so stubborn. You go back to doing what you were doing. He goes, I'll see you at the funeral in about a year.
Uh,
And he was not giving his opinion or exaggerating.
he was just
He's
being
like,
honest.
you have to change everything in your life. You have to.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
You know, I mean, depending on what you were putting in, I wasn't, you know, shooting heroin or something like that.
Right. Right.
But
Right. Right.
um another doc had said to me, you can't, once you start passing like 30 years old, you can't be like on the road eating like ramen noodles every day and go back down to 128 pounds like I was when I lived in Los Angeles when I was like 21.
Hmm.
He goes, you'll start having problems because of that, you know?
Right. Right.
You know, and I says, well, what am I supposed to do? Live at Whole Foods, you know, and drop all this coin all the time? He goes, if you can, you know.
Yeah.
And he told me, he goes, a guy like you, and he goes, your energy and what you need to put back in your body to get back to what you get. He goes, forget the fish and the chicken, like they always tell you. He goes, you should be having like 3 T-bone steaks a day.
Yeah. Right.
And I go, 3? I go, I thought, you know, red meat and steak and stuff is like, can cause like all these problems, which it can, you know?
Right.
And they go, no, you have something called low platelets. It's a blood level count.
Right.
So they lower. So I've had in the last 5 years, probably, like I told you, I had 10 to 12 surgeries. I've had 10 to 12, maybe 15 blood transfusions.
Holy crap.
And when you're laying in the bed, you always look at the bags hanging, and I'd have like 6.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's that one in there that looks like lime green? And like, those are platelets. We're putting them back in you.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, well, how do I maintain them? And how do I avoid ever having a catheter in and keep playing drums to my ability? And they said to me, just keep exercising, keep drinking those gallons of water like you do. And lemon juice is like a miracle thing,
Yeah.
you know, chopped lemon, the real stuff, not the stuff you put on your chicken, real
Right. Right.
lemons,
Right. Right.
turmeric, ginger. I started learning all these things about diet, you know, and just what gives you that energy to do what you got to do. I mean, rehearsal, my guitar player said the other day, rehearsal and shows, he goes, I don't even see you huffing and puffing after the set list. And I go, well, 10 years ago, I probably was purple,
Right.
you know, and I just accepted it like, oh, it's hot in here.
Yeah.
My
Well,
body was
the
my body was
go-to
fighting it.
excuse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
The
you get my
go-to.
grandmother, who originally is from Caledonia, Wisconsin, a hog farmer.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, lost her last year. She made it to 100,
Holy crap.
and she didn't abuse anything, you know, but her thing was blueberries. She swore by blueberries all
Somebody
the
else I
time.
heard say that too. I
There's
heard that from
something with
someone.
blueberries that is the ticket,
Hmm.
you know.
Maybe I should look at that.
Yeah, try to
Yeah.
pick them up if you can, you know. Um, you know, like I tried at one show, because as your body's getting better, it'll start to reject stuff. There was one show, I want to say this was 6, 7 months ago. You come through the curtain, come to the back of the drum riser. Everything's working, ready. Here comes the smoke and the fog, and I kick into it, right?
Yeah.
But before I kicked into it, I was on like 3 hours of sleep and I didn't eat.
Oh
So I
no.
had this bucket next to the hi-hat, and it was filled with Red Bulls. So I like power slammed these 2 Red Bulls before I even broke into the first song.
Oh man.
So I get to the end of the song, hit the last note, and my bass player at the time looks back at me and I'm throwing up by the hi-hat.
Yeah.
And he goes, what the? He goes, are you okay, Jaybird? And I go, I'm fine, I'm fine. And I'm wiping my mouth. And he's looking at me like I'm on frickin' heroin or something, you know? And it rejected it. It rejected the Red Bull.
Right.
And my
Yeah.
doctor said to me, he goes, "You screw it up, man. You're putting clean and good stuff into you. And then all of a sudden you put bad stuff into you, and your body goes,
What the hell
what's
is this
this?
shit?
What the hell are you
Yeah.
giving me?"
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Yep. Well, it happens, you know. I mean, I don't drink those energy drinks or anything anymore. I take turmeric and I take ginger and I just I try to I take magnesium. Magnesium is one thing that's saved me from keeping me out of the hospital for my pancreas. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I'm
I have
familiar.
I am, magnesium saved me because I used to be in and out of the hospital. So I can relate to that. And I've been trying so many different things health wise, and I'm still on that hunt. You know what I mean? To try something new. Does it work? Doesn't it work? You know what I mean? So it's just a matter when you get older, like we are, you kind of start looking at things. If you want that longevity, then you got to try to find something that's going to work a little bit better than Red Bull.
Yeah, you can't be 38 years old forever.
Yeah. I wish. Oh my God, I wish.
You
But
know what? If you want a suggestion, this is what my doctor told me the first year to do in New York, and I did it for a year. Um, I call it the transmission flush of the body, like you do on
mhm,
a vehicle. He goes, I want you to take water next to your bed when you sleep, or if you're on the road or whatever, always have water, right? Water's like the fountain of youth, as far as I'm concerned.
mhm,
And I go, are you going to tell me that infamous 8 glasses of water a day to have?
mhm.
He goes, someone like you and what you're going through? He goes, 2 gallons
Holy crap.
every 24 hours. And I go, I'll be peeing every 15 minutes. I go, I won't even be able to make it through 2 songs without having to have a freaking a pee jug next to me, you know?
Right.
He goes, I don't care. He goes, water, water, water. He goes, if you have to wake up every 2 hours for that year and pee, you do it. So he gave me like a urinal jug next to the bed,
Mhm,
and I put 2 gallons there on ice, and I did that
mhm,
for a year straight. And there was one day I woke up in bed. I felt the best I ever felt. I had the Zephyr Hills water, the spring
mhm.
water.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I looked at the ground next to my bed by my aquarium and my TV, and I looked at the ground, and there were 15 empty bottles of Zephyr Hills. That's what I drank that night.
Oh wow.
I never felt that good in my life. I don't care if
Huh.
you drink orange juice, apple juice, uh, whatever.
Yeah.
Water, man, hmm, something with
And
it.
this is
You know,
your
it kind of makes you
PSA
think. It kind of
for
makes you think. It kind of makes you think. Why didn't I just do this stuff after high school and see if I could live to be 150,
right, right,
like
right.
one of
No
those
kidding.
Tibetan monks?
What
You
we
know?
what what we know now to what we should have known then. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just crazy. But well, I'm
Well,
at the hour
well,
minute, man. Yeah, I mean this has been a fun hour. I mean, definitely gonna have
yeah.
to
I
make it.
basically gave you the rundown and everything the band's doing, what's going on with the drums and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we're geared up and almost ready to go. I have to, like I said, we got 2 shows coming here. If people want to jot this down, May 9th at the Brass Mug with
Right.
3 other bands. That's going to be a good one. That's a Saturday. Then there's
Hmm.
another Saturday, July 18th, which has like 20 bands, real, all awesome bands, man.
Nice.
Um, that starts like at noon and goes to like 3 in the morning.
Hmm.
And then after that, we're on hiatus a bit just for writing, and then we'll hit the road in August. And first
And
shows
tour
in
busting it.
yeah, exactly. You know, unless you want to go by horseback and pull a sleigh behind it, you know.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work.
Man, oh man. I gotta tell you, you know, I'll end you on this note, and it's not really laughable, but you always have to worry about theft at the venues too.
Oh yeah.
And I like the word inventory because I want to know what's coming in and what's
Hmm.
going out all the time. And now having 14 cymbals and you know stick bags and parts and washers and nuts and stuff that can get lost and these little parts that come from your bass drum to your hi-hat, that's like an attachment that I had to wait 3 weeks for to get sent from Asia, got left behind and whatever. Well, my guitar player, one of the last shows we did a couple weeks ago, um he had his cell phone outside in the holder in the truck,
Mm-hmm.
and some guy was walking around the parking lot. You don't think nothing of it. You think it's just a fan or some guy coming out of a
Right.
bar. Or maybe it was homeless or whatever. He waited for the opportune moment of like probably 20, 30 seconds and took the phone. And my guitar player had almost the entire next album, all the riffs and everything recorded
Oh
on the
no.
phone. And he couldn't save or retrieve it. So now back to the beginning, which is why I'm happy we got a guy coming out with us that's 360 pounds and
Mm-hmm.
ex-military,
Right. 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 Yeah.
and
You got to protect your stuff, man.
he's a good friend of mine, and he's not like a violent person, but he's always watching. And granted, he's not somebody that you want to lock horns with, you
Right.
know,
Right. Right. Right.
and you unfortunately need that because it's still to this day when you're turning your back, someone's going, "Hey, what kind of China boy is that? Is that an 18 or a 20? Hey, do you want me to give you a hand putting this outside?" And then they're gone,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Yeah. No. I get
Anyway,
it.
so I'll tell you what, when the two new tracks are remixed and mastered,
Mm-hmm.
not the older stuff that's still being kind of messed with, I'll
Right.
send them to you. You can give me your opinion on them.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
most definitely. Oh yeah.
there's a lot
Yeah,
more to be read.
I'll review them. I'll review them on an episode and make sure I give my opinion on it. So yeah, I'd be looking forward to that. But
Yeah,
yeah. So Jason, thank you so much, man. Like I said, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. And
I'm good. Hey,
so
thank
many
you for
people.
having me, and I'm just happy to be alive, and I'm happy to be playing drums still, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
just gonna keep at it until it's time to you know, permanently go sit where I was sitting and put my line in the water and bring home some catfish.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. My favorite fish.
I'll tell you what, buddy, put that Louisiana hot sauce on there, a little bit of squeeze of lemon.
And
Mm.
you're good. You're golden right there.
Ah, yep.
All right, brother.
All right, listen, thanks for having me, and we'll catch up with you soon. And make sure you tell everyone thank you for listening. And I hope I didn't bore anybody. And
Oh no,
I
it's
hope
never
no one
boring
thinks
with you. No, it was good.
again. I hope no one thinks I'm preaching because I go from health to drumming and band stuff and
Hey,
whatever. Most of the people already know this stuff. All I can
right,
do is just tell you what I went through and
right, right,
what I did and what I shouldn't have done. So there are people that do ask me. There's people that call me in the middle of the night and they're like, I can't stop. I can't stop doing what I'm doing. And I'm not going to say what they were doing. How do
right.
you do it? How do you do it? And I go through conversations with people at 3 a.m. where I'm like, you know what? You got any water near you? Yeah, I do. Well, go get a fishing rod and go out there and
Right.
go fishing or go jogging or go mountain bike. Like I've done that at 3 a.m. along the Gulf of
Right.
Mexico for 2 hours and then come back and sleep.
Right. Right.
So if people
There's
ask me for advice, I give it to them, but I never tell, I never preach or
right.
anything like
Right.
that. But just my time had come, and it was to the point where it was like, again, the doctor said, "Do you want to live? Do
Mm-hmm.
you?" And it
Mm-hmm.
was that close.
Yeah. No, I get
So
it. Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I do. So this episode will be up wherever you get your podcasts, as well as it will be on Studio Six Media channel on YouTube. So on that note, I will say adios and thank you everybody for
Yeah,
tuning
and I'll
in.
probably be seeing you in a couple of weeks. We'll do a fish fry or
Oh
we'll do
yeah, that's
lunch or
right. We
something.
got it. We're hooking up at next Friday, so I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be cool. So
Yeah, buddy.
yeah.
Maybe
So
we'll ride some horses, huh?
maybe